working sort of behind the scenes. So I worked here in Bournemouth, moved up to London with Orient, and then came back down here to work for Pompey for 3 years. Loved it, just didn't love the corporate industry, working for someone else. My big thing was to basically get out of that. My first buy-to-let was a little 2 up, 2 down on Carisbrooke Road, right next to Fratton Park, for those of you who are familiar. So that was my first dabble in property in sort of 2017. That really gave me like the passion to know that I wanted to be doing more of it, basically. And then my 2 little boys as well. So I think the big thing for me was working in football. Glamorous as it is at times, it really isn't. You know, we were talking about it earlier. You work Christmas Day, Boxing Day, all the way through. You know, you can only take your holidays in May and June. It's a very ruthless industry. And although the footballers quite often get paid very well, the staff behind the scenes get paid very poorly because of the privilege of working in football. And for me, I fundamentally felt I couldn't support a family in the way I wanted to while I was doing that job. So yeah, there's just the 4 of us. We're done there. For those of you who know me, the boys are just as crazy as I am, so that's definitely enough for me. And a big thing for me was my non-league football. I've always played non-league football, love my football. When I was working in football, so to speak, again, I had to work home match days, so it just affected all of my non-league football myself. And I think, from my point of view, that was a big thing that I missed out on in my sort of late 20s. And somehow I'm still hanging on now, playing a little bit of football. So that's my reason why. Quick bit back to the start. So I quit my corporate job at Fratton Park in 2018. My passion for property came from the property that I said on Carisbrooke Road. Just a little buy-to-let that we did up and rented out essentially like a single let. I had a lot of time when I left my job, but no money or experience. And I think that I'm quite a proud person, but I got so fed up with the corporate industry that I literally just jacked everything overnight. Came home to my wife and said, you know, we need to have a little bit of a chat. I'm thinking about leaving my job. To which she said, oh God, you know, we've got mortgage, we've got this, that. And I went, oh, when I say I was sort of thinking of leaving, I kind of did today. So as you can imagine, that didn't go down too well. But my best friend phoned me up that night and said, we're starting a build project on my house and I need a labourer for the next 12 weeks. And without thinking, I just took it on, £80 cash a day. I just had no stress, no phone calls, no emails, no one really telling me what to do. It's just me and just a chap on site, and I loved it. It just refreshed my mind and sort of allowed me just to reset, which may be what I needed. I joined a company called Alpus Developments in 2018, you know, a few months after. That's a building company based in Bournemouth, who I'm sort of a non-exec director for now. Company turnover of 1.2 million, but very minimal profit with that. So the 1.2 million was this big headline figure. You know, the whole turnover and profit can be very cloudy at times, and that was definitely where we were. I came in, helped restructure the business, which is what I've done in football a little bit. So we created new processes, systems, and sort of moved a few staff on, tweaked a few things. And I suppose that then gave me the insight. We were doing all these jobs for other people, and I could then realise, you know, it doesn't take too much to work out, you know, how much they bought a house for, how much they're obviously spending for us, and then what they were selling it for at the end. And quickly I was able to transition and think, we need to be doing this more of ourselves. So in my mind I was like, do I go into property on my own or do I team up? And I suppose that's still a big question that I get asked a lot now, and I'll go into that in a bit more depth. I very much find property is a very, very lonely industry, particularly when you're self-employed. For those of you who are self-employed, maybe you know where I'm coming from, but it's, you know, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, there's a lot of the time spent, maybe you don't get the rewards that you want. And if you're not within a corporate industry like I have been before, it can be a very lonely place. You haven't got other people to speak to. Off the back of that, like I said, we set up Hanning's Homes in February 2020, so perfect timing with COVID, as you can all imagine. So there's me and the boys, so there's 4 of us in business together. They're all tradesmen. So again, I'll talk about this. I'll talk about this shortly. Like, for me, I probably could do what I'm doing on my own, but the skills and the money and everything else that the boys bring to the table, and just the passion and having people to do it with,
was my reason for going into business with the boys.
So there's